STN Racing proudly presents the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. We are here at virtual Dover International Speedway as we get set to go for 100 laps around this mile-long racetrack. These cars are loose. The track is hot. It has the potential to be a long night for these drivers. Glad to have you along for the ride, everybody. Jacob Pitts, Justin Prince, JP, he's running a little late, but he'll be here in just a little while. Zach Johnson, our producer for tonight. As always, Pace Car is leading the field off of pit road, and let's run through our starting grid for tonight's race. On the pole, Derek Justice in the 31 with Brian Mercurio to his outside. Adam Sweet, Oysen Walsh in row 2. Michael Frisch, Will Norton, row 3. Braden Poulos and Jordy Lopez Jr., row 4. Matt Danson and Sean Butler round out the top 10. We will fly through the rest of the field here, as I believe they are coming to the green flag this time by. I'm not sure. We'll find out. Wetz and Pocari, 11th and 12th. Oates and Worth, 13th, 14th. Rabidou and Rice, 15th and 16th. Caden Rush back in 19th. Wyatt Tinsley, yeah, pace cars in, so you'll see the second half of the field as we go through. But here we go. Derek Justice, Brian Mercurio going to lead us down to the green flag, and they come through 3 and 4, and green flag's in the air. Justice is on the gas, and we are underway from Dover. Let's see how far they make it through 1 and 2. It is Mercurio in second, Justice out in front. Adam Sweet takes the third spot, and it's Walsh and Frisch side by side for the fifth spot. In tonight's field that we did not get to, Ryan Vargas, who was in the Xfinity race earlier today. He is home. He's now driving in this 100-lap race, starting back outside the top 20 as the top 5 or so are single file. They come through turn 2 onto the back stretch. As everybody being rather patient. This track, has set in practice, very loose. These guys are out of control a lot of the time around the racetrack. The track temp, there you see 129 degrees. This place is on fire. And these guys are slipping and sliding out there, very much like the Xfinity race earlier today. But so far, so good. We've made it 3 laps now, caution-free, out of the 100 that are on the board for tonight's race. Got a cluster of cars in the back, and I'm in the wall, back straight away, caution's out. I believe it's Cirrus Gorange that is part of this. Seth Noel is around and now runs it into the outside wall. So the caution's out for the first time tonight. Let's take a look and see what happened here. This is coming off of turn number 2 where this develops. You see the contact. That's between Schildhouse and Goringe, and it's going to send, I'm not sure who that was that blinked in and out there, but then Noel had nowhere to go. I think that might be, that's Cosman, actually. That was the first car to get sideways, then came back up the track after hitting the inside wall and came up into Noel. Nowhere for him really to go. Here's another angle. It's contact between Goringe and Schildhouse, and then Cosman gets run over by the O2 of Ryan Nolraki. Hard into the inside wall, back up the racetrack, and nowhere for Noel to go. I believe that's the Somebody else got turned up into the outside wall just for a moment. So our first multiple car crash, our first caution flag of the afternoon, and now we got some folks coming on to pit road, but most of the leaders decide to stay out. Derek Justice is your race leader, as we are 5 laps complete here at Dover. All right, we have the choose cone in effect, and they are going to be choosing right now. The box is where the cone is, or where the cone usually is. It's the commitment box on the apron to turn 4. And as they come around, a lot of people taking the inside line, but Brian Mercurio will take the outside line. Same with Michael Frisch, with Justice and Sweet on the inside line, as they will take 1 to green here at start-finish. And once JP gets up here, he'll take over the lead chair. I'll slide over a seat, and we'll make this work. As the joy of doing back-to-back-to-back-to-back broadcasts some nights. So it's still Justice out in front. He's led every single lap so far in that 31 Baskin-Robbins machine. Your top 5 is Justice, Mercurio, Sweet, Frisch, and Walsh. Then it's Lopez, Norton, Bulos, Butler, and Wentz. That's your top 10 as we are doubled up and ready for the restart. Through 3 and 4. Pace car makes the hard left turn onto pit road. Seth Knoll has departed from the event early. He's done for the night, hung up the helmet, and off for green flag. That's Mercurio that spun the tires there up on the outside line. Cosman's also parked it, so he's done for the night. Caution already. Trouble in turn 1. Not even. It's actually on the front straightaway. David Schildhouse is a part of it. We'll need a replay here to see what exactly happened. Schildhouse was in the back of the field, had some damage from the last caution. And now involved in another one here on the front straightaway. Takes us 500 feet for the second caution to come out. So let's take a look, see what happened. This is on the main straightaway, and what in the world? So Goringe and Schildhouse involved, and the 7, that's Matt Horton. He hits the wall, and JP, you just joined us in here as we're now under our second caution. Restarts are typically tricky here at Dover, and it's a lot more difficult when you run into the outside wall in the straightaway.
Yes, this is the type of racetrack where tire spin is very much possible, and it's very easy to make mistakes. And in that case, definitely a mistake for Matt Horton with the tire spin bouncing to the outside wall. And especially when it comes to fixed setup racing on iRacing, it's very easy to do. And that brings us under the caution flag. And turn to you, Jacob, so far. What your thoughts on how this played out so far? We're up to 2 caution flags now, and we're approaching 10 laps completed this time by.
Well, the leaders have kept it relatively clean. They haven't had a lot of racing to do. They only made it 4 laps before that first caution came out, and they made it all the way to the middle of 1 and 2 before this next caution came out. But they've kept it relatively calm. It's been the guys in the back that have been like a swarm of bees, really. That they've been 2 and 3 wide constantly all night long, and you know, now they can't even get through the front straightaway without causing an issue. It's parted over. We're going to be seeing this as time goes on. Just hope these guys can clean up a little bit as we get further and further into this.
Of course, this race is a part of May Madness, which started off last round with some intriguing moments. For those who do not know, it's a bracket-style elimination format, which is similar to a certain event that happens in March, which drivers have the chance to move on and battle each other bracket style. It started off with 32. It's down to about 16 drivers. If one driver does not make a start, its competitor automatically advances to the next part of the bracket and so forth. It is Smith and Nemitz entering tonight for one of the brackets. For example, Cosmonaneshu and Walsh. Then you have Oates and Plusso, Worth and Waterworth, Butler and Swack, Stort, Rice, Schwartz, Poulin, Corder, and Punkari. It's a way for things to be done fun because it's something that's a tradition here in FTF competition. And it's also something where you have to finish higher than that respective driver to be able to advance in the bracket. In other words, Jacob, it's similar to like a rivalry system that you would have in a lot of different ways where you need to beat said rival in that race.
It kind of brings a whole different element into this thing. You're trying to win the race. You're trying to beat everybody else. But then, you have one driver, one specific driver that you need to beat in order to stay alive. It's kind of almost an element of the playoff system, but instead of having to race 4 drivers for one spot, you're racing one driver for one spot. It makes it a lot of fun.
$100 on the line for the winner of May Madness as well at the end of the month. We'll see how things play out as the month progresses. By the way, to reset your field, it's Derek Justice who is in the race lead at the moment. Over Brian Mercurio, Michael Frisch, Adam Sweet, Jordy Lopez Jr. this night is in the 30. Bulos is in the 99. Followed by Walsh, Wetz, Norton, and Sean Butler rounds out your top 10. And what's been an intriguing race so far indeed. One to go signal this time by, and the choose cone is now in process. That's where drivers now are using that orange box as your choose cone for tonight. And a majority of your drivers electing to utilize up at the front, in particular, Derek Justice, the top line, compared to Mercurio, who utilizes the bottom here.
I find this interesting because Mercurio spun the tires on the outside in that last restart. They didn't get very far, so it didn't hurt Mercurio in the grand scheme of things, but Justice chose the bottom last time around, and Mercurio chose the outside, and Mercurio did not get a good launch on the outside. Justice is the leader here, so he determines when the field goes before the green flag, so he may try and get a bit of a jump on Mercurio, but I think this is kind of just experimenting around a little bit. If he spins the tires now and he stays in the lead, he's going to be picking the bottom the rest of the night.
See how this decision plays out. 88 laps to go, this time by. Once more here at Dover. Derek Justice in control of the field. Pace car is off. We'll see if he bunches them up. No, he goes early this time. Green flag is out, off and away, and already clear.
Yeah, he fooled everybody that time. He was like, yeah, I'm going to wait. Yeah, okay, never mind. See ya. And he pieced out and kind of caught everybody off guard. I think the guy that hurt the most was Adam Sweet because he thought that we were waiting. He got off to a slow start from that outside line. He's fallen all the way back to 5th.
Great race so far for the Epic Gaming Network 100 for Derek Justice in this one. Side by side, meanwhile, Bulos and Adam Sweet, who had a strong qualifying performance in this one, looking to try and hold on, though the bottom line, the preferred line here at this racetrack.
He's trying to make that outside work on Bulos, and it worked through 1 and 2. We'll see what happens in 3 and 4, but he's kind of making the top side work for now, but now Bulos has the better run. Sweet kind of slid up a little bit, but he's going to fit in line right here.
John Butler currently among the drivers inside the top 10. May have been among the drivers that may be among some discussion started on the high side on this restart. And was among the drivers who shuffled a bit towards the middle line. We'll see how things play out for the 32.
Yeah, the early part of this race is pretty much just trying to figure out what your car can and can't do, especially with the weather conditions that we're in right now, with the sun baking the racetrack. Like we said, 129 degrees is the track temp right now. These guys are going to be slipping and sliding. It's going to be like driving on ice skates for most of the night here.
For Derek Justice, the eNASCAR Coca-Cola iRacing Series driver, though, amongst what's going to be a busy upcoming week for him. You have tonight's race, you have the Cup Series going on, you also have ENAS Coca-Cola iRacing Series competition taking place over at the virtual Circuit of the Americas. He's already pulled away by nearly half a second. He's one of the quickest cars on the racetrack overall. Michael Frisch had the quickest time last time by.
Yeah, there's nothing like going from Dover in enlarged Bristol to Coda, which, we haven't driven with these things before. Haven't driven with the Cup car or any NASCAR before. As we got trouble. Big crash. Oh, that's huge.
And it's a track blocker as several drivers go around down the back straightaway. It's Kolonix who is among the drivers who go around. We're back in our yellow for the third time tonight.
And it started with Kolonix. That's where the contact was made. He was on the inside coming off of turn 2 and washed up the racetrack into the 98. And that's what got him turned into the inside wall. And when you hit the inside wall here, you are going to bounce back up into traffic. There's just no doubt about it. We saw it earlier with Gosman. You see, going to wash up into Evan Rice right there, gets turned into the inside wall, back across the track. And, it just blocks the whole racetrack. And these guys are flying down the back straightaway. They're easy going 160, 170. You can brake all you want, but you're not going to avoid it.
And we'll see once more on this incident, and it's so easy for this to happen. It's a self-cleaning racetrack with how tight the walls are. At that time, the car cleaned itself up the racing groove. Nate Stewart plowing right on into it with a hard collision.
Yeah, you think of Daytona and Talladega with tracks that you can have the big wrecks. Add Dover to that list. We have seen plenty of pileups, especially on this spot on the racetrack coming off of turn 2, 2008 with Elliott Sadler blocking the track. 4 years later, Tony Stewart, Landon Castle did the same thing. Even today in the Xfinity race, you had Matt Jaskell wind up on top of somebody down the back straightaway. You don't think a car is getting up in the air at Dover, but sure enough, they found a way today.
Several drivers have stayed out this caution flag, interestingly enough. Amongst them was one of them who got some repairs done, Ryan Naraki, one of the previous caution flags. It's Chris Wetz, Caden Rush, Naraki, Poulin, and Andrew Schwartz, who all stay out under this caution flag. Now, the reasoning for some of this, keep in mind, will be some of the tire sets. Now they'll have one more tire set available compared to some of your competitors. 3 tire sets were available in the pits for tonight.
Yeah, we're only 20 laps into this deal. Not even. We're coming to 20 laps complete this time around. So we got a long way to go, and I don't know. We're going to have a lot more cautions tonight, I have a feeling. So I don't know if now's the best time to come on and leave just one more set in the pits. But, maybe these guys know something we don't.
Jamison and Rice will go to the back of the field as a result of that incident, by the way, as the drivers now get themselves coming up for the choose this time by. Again, they will choose this time by on the respective lanes. Justice will restart in 5th. That's because one of the drivers who elected to stay out the previous time elected to come down and pit. How do you feel this could play out for Wetz, Rush, Naraki, and Poulin, though? Keep in mind, Naraki has already taken 19 seconds of service, so he does have a bit fresher tires here in the sequence.
I think initially these guys might be okay. You might see a little bit more wheel spin from anybody that's on the outside of the racetrack on these older tires, which will be a bunch of people up. But I think for the most part, the first lap will be all right. After that, it'll start being noticeable on who can keep it down on the bottom and who can't, as Alex Kolonix, he's out of this thing after that last wreck, which, it makes sense. These guys don't have a fast repair. You hit something hard enough and your goose is cooked.
Choose cone time, and the bottom side chosen by Wetz. The top line chosen by Caden Rush in the Flying Arrows machine. Rocky chose the bottom, Poulin chose the top, as you see the shuffling about. Bit of variation from a couple of the drivers in the mid-pack, but other than that, fairly smooth choosing this time from our competitors. It appears no one touching the box. Keep in mind, if you touch that box, that is a penalty, as the one-to-go signal is now out on the racetrack this time by. By the way, one of your biggest movers just so happened to compete here earlier today. Ryan Vargas and the Cranio Care Bears machine is already up to 15th.
Yeah, and he started at the back of the Xfinity race too today, back outside the top 35, and he finished in 26. So, he knows about making his way through the front and avoiding chaos. That's all he did this afternoon in the Xfinity race, and he gets another taste of that here in FTF.
We'll see how the race plays out for Vargas tonight. As now, we'll see how things also play out for the drivers on older tires here. Keep in mind the wheels spin as Wett's in control of the field. Rush on the outside, followed by Naraki and Poulin. Justice Mercurio, it's a very early launch this time. Green flag is out, back and away, 78 to go from Dover.
Yeah, he did not wait for the pace car to get very far before he was on the gas. As Caden Rush is going to try and get in front of Naraki here. I think he's going to make it happen, take that second spot away. But now Justice has to be patient to get by these guys. He can't outrace himself and put himself or other drivers in the wall or out of contention here, as it is a hornet's nest back there behind Jake Poulin.
Yeah, that hornet's nest now going 3 wide. That is Mercurio taking a peek to the inside. Goes back 2 wide. Trying to make a move on Poulin, who is all out of sorts in 1 and 2. Frisch able to make the pass, drifting his way on by. Mercurio once again takes a peek. Nowhere for him to go, though. It's stuck behind the 0-0.
Yeah, Poulin did a good job of shutting the door down the back straightaway. When Mercurio got to the inside off the 4, he was dead sideways. I was impressed he was able to hang on to the car and still try and make the move. Looks like he'll make it here in 1 and 2, though, and should get the spot. And now it's just going to be a conga line pretty much on the inside of Poulin. See you later, pal. We're faster than you.
The tough break for Mercurio is from 2nd all the way back to 8th position as Derek Justice is already up inside the top 3 and bringing Michael Frisch with him.
Yeah, we talked about it. Frisch with the fastest lap of the race so far. Justice not too far behind him on that. Actually, let me look. Yeah, Justice actually beat Frisch. 23.536 to a 5.46 from Frisch. So Justice with the fastest lap, barely. These two seem pretty evenly matched right now. So here comes Rush for the lead, but he's got company.
Sliding up the racetrack that time is Chris Wett, says Justice actually nearly bump drafted him down the straightaway. Jordy Lopez Jr., the top competitors in this year's eNASCAR Road to Pro Qualifying iRacing Series. Now also up in the mix with Bulos now following suit. Solanchik Gialtas Esports Machines now joining the fray as well for this fight. Rush now trying to be forced up to the high side by Justice. Now side by side for the race lead as Justice will take away the point.
Yeah, I thought Caden Rush was doing pretty good there and holding his own until Justice got underneath him there on the front straightaway, and that kind of sealed the deal. That's pretty much going to put an end to that and send Rush to the back, and these guys are still really aggressive back here. Just looking back, who is that? The 07, I think. That's... or no, the 117. Dalton Cowden. These guys are stacked up back here. Poulin's in this as well. Tyler Gary, Oyson Walsh, Joe Berge. They're all back here stacking up. They're double wide, potential to be 3 wide. It's scary back here.
Vargas already making a move on Chris Wett's move. Vargas up to the 11th position. Right behind Worth as one car nearly scrapes the wall. That was Will Norton. The bottom with Adam Sweet nearly scraping the fence. Now the drivers on the older tires have dropped back to 6th, 12th, and outside the top 20 just about respectively. That's how that strategy has worked out as now Sweet goes to the inside.
Yeah, it would have worked out if we had another caution. Maybe right away or a couple in a row. Instead, we've got our longest green flag run of the day. So these guys kind of underestimated when the cautions would fly here. But, I mean, that's the risk. Maybe these guys are thinking, well, we'll stay out now and see if it's possible to stay out late in the race. If only a few of us stay out. Clearly, it's not going to work if you only have 5 guys stay out. You're going to need probably 10 or more to stay out if you want to actually make... the strategy work out.
Meanwhile, up at the front, Frisch is keeping the pressure up on Justice near bumper to bumper. And a bit of a different line being taken by Frisch. He's trying to go for the double apex, it appears, while Justice is going for what is a more flatter entry and exit to try and stick right to the very bottom of the racetrack, it appears.
Yeah, Frisch is driving this racetrack how Juan Pablo Montoya used to drive this racetrack. Diamond the corners, almost like you're in an Indy car here. It's really fun to watch, and so far it seems to be working as we got trouble. Suris Garinj is around in turn 2. Not sure if he got any help. I heard wrecking on the radio, and 15 seconds later the caution came out, so I'm not sure if that was a progressive wreck, but looks like Garinj may have gotten some help from the 115 of Patrick Fogel, and Garinj got up into the wall, into the loose stuff, and just couldn't save it.
The Mad Sim Racing back machine does indeed make the door-to-door contact. Has the 756 then, after getting to the outside wall, big correction over to the outside fence, and around he goes to bring us under caution.
Yeah, I mean, the 115 kind of misses his entry, almost catches the apron, just slides up the racetrack, nowhere for Garinj to go, and he just gets up in the loose stuff, can't hang on. He doesn't want to hook it back down into the rest of the racetrack, into the cars on his inside, so he hooks it back up to the outside wall. I mean, kind of smart. You don't really want to hit anything when you're in that spot, but it's best just for him to tear his own stuff up instead of somebody else's stuff up.
And several different drivers staying out as a result of the caution flag with the tire sets. Rush, Wetz, Fogel, Moncari on back will elect to pit this time by. We'll take you side by side. You're watching STN Racing for coverage of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals.
We've been waiting for this moment. Generations of innovation all coming together in one place. A pedigree of more than 70 years of NASCAR Cup Series history, from the past to the present, from Petty to Earnhardt to Elliott. Today, there's no more waiting. The future of NASCAR is now. Drive the next-gen cars today on iRacing and step into the next generation of racing.
Welcome back to the Epic Gaming Network 100 on STN Racing. As drivers now reach the choose cone, this time by Justin Prince, Jacob Hitz with you, with Zach Johnson in the director's seat for tonight's action. It's been an intriguing race so far. Several caution flags in the early stages, a bit of tire strategy coming into play for a few different drivers, and in total, 3 different lead changes and 3 leaders over the course of 35 plus laps here at Dover International Speedway, the Monster Mile. And this track is very unique with the concrete surface, where it's very difficult to save the tires because it's so easy to chew up the tires with this slick surface. I was watching back one of the first races here when they made this concrete, Jacob. It used to be so shiny that they had to use a different lens for some of the camera angles with how bright the surface was when it first was used in 1995.
Wouldn't surprise me at all. You know, this racetrack's seen a lot of wear since 1995, so it's dulled down a little bit with you know, the weather they get in Dover. You know, hurricanes slamming into the coast, snowstorms slamming into the coast. You know, it certainly gets a lot of weathering, and it's going to change as time goes on. But you're right about this racetrack being slick. It doesn't help when the sun's baking on it like it is right now, and the track temp's 130 degrees, and these guys are just kind of along for the ride at this point.
Pace car is off this time by Derek Justice with an early launch once more. Green flag is out. We're back on our way. Jordi Lopez in second with the choose. Michael Frisch already under attack near 3 wide for third position. Frisch gives a bit of space now to Mercurio. Bull's trying to make the high line work off the restart.
Yeah, Frisch didn't get that great of a start. I think he thought Justice wasn't going to go right away. Instead, Justice went right away, so now he's kind of paying the price for it, but he only lost one spot. Lost a little bit of time, but it looks like he's rebounding pretty nicely here as, Bulos is falling back there on the high side. Now he's going to get pressure from Jordan Worth.
Jordan Worth having an impressive race. Sean Butler also going with them. Both of them over the radio have been very much vibing tonight. Very much in high spirits and in a light mood tonight. And now, not so light battling going on right behind him as a dive to the inside from Tyler. Gary making new contact with a 117.
Yeah, I saw Gary throw it in there and thought they were going to wreck. I didn't think they were going to make it through that corner. So great job by Gary and Cowden to keep it together right in front of them. NASCAR driver Ryan Vargas says trouble turn 2, caution's out. And let me see if I can find a culprit or somebody involved.
It's Rich Jamison who goes around after one car. Got very loose. It was Ethan Coulter with contact from Evan Rice in turn 1.
And Gary Waterworth got in that as well. Just, that's another one involving Evan Rice. It just 3 wide going in there. Rice is down there. And, man, Coulter comes down. He's not clear. He gets turned because Rice is there, and just tries to save it. Unfortunately, there are other cars in the inside line that have nowhere to go but right into the side of them, and they spin out and bring the caution out. I mean, yeah, Rice left the racetrack, but when you enter that low in the corner, of course you're going to slide up the racetrack. You don't give a guy room. You're going to get turned because the car needs to come up the racetrack when you enter that low. So I don't put that on Evan Rice at all. He was doing what he had to do there in the bottom.
Jamison losing the most time out of the sequence. Drops to the very back of the field to 35th position. And several drivers now, as a result of this caution flag, mixing things up on strategy. How about this? Michael Frisch has elected a pit from inside the top 5.
Yeah, he was third. And Adam Sweet, he had a good start going. He's coming in this time as well. So this is pretty interesting now. We're really starting to see the strategy flesh out here as we're closing in on halfway.
Lucky Dog will go to the 756 this time by the way. Gorridge will now make it 36 cars on the lead lap. It's been an interesting race so far, to say the very least. As we approach halfway, how do you feel that drivers are going to try and have to battle Derek Justice, because he has been on rails tonight?
Well, they haven't had a long green flag run, really, to let things play out and see if Justice uses up his stuff. It's just been, 10 laps here, maybe 15 here, but it's been 10 laps or less, really, that most of our runs have been. So Justice, as long as he has the short run car, it looks like he's the guy to beat. As Evan Rice, he has left the building. He's parked the car, done for the night. But I'm looking for a guy like Frisch, especially on this strategy. He may pull something out of the hat here to try and upset here.
Coming up to the choose this time by, and in the words of Justin Malloy, that makes it Tuesday. Very punny. Indeed. You get it, don't you?
Yep. Ken, I have to say that I do. That's a good one. Caught me off guard.
Indeed. And so far, Derek Justice has chose right. He's been nailing these restarts, and the reason he's going so early is you wait until the straightaway, Jacob. That's where a massive amount of the tire spin ends up happening on older tires.
Oh, yeah. You pick the outside line of the restart on older tires, your tires are going to be spinning and you're going to be going nowhere. We may even run into a situation like we had a couple years ago where Jimmy Johnson missed a shift and got turned and 3/4 of the field piled up on the front straightaway. That's not out of the question. Here, if somebody spins the tires too much and there's contact made, definitely not out of the question.
Mercurio and Norton chose the bottom. Jordan Worth, though, electing to be daring, chose the top, along with Jordi Lopez, as several more drivers continue to choose. Keep an eye on Michael Frisch, though, from 25th position. He is in that purple and white machine. He'll be on the high side for this restart.
The only danger is the fact that he's starting all the way back there. He's going to be deep in it here on this restart. He's going to need help. There's no doubt about it when this comes around here that he needs cautions, but the cautions can't be in front of him. He'd rather they be behind him and not him. If they're in front of him, he kind of has to play a little bit of minesweeper, and that could definitely get these guys a little anxious out there.
Nate Storp, by the way, ended up getting claimed for the choose cone for ending up running over the middle of the choose cone. So he'll go to the very back of the field. Other than that, everyone else with a clean set in the box. Derek Justice has been the dominant driver tonight so far for the Monster Mile. Can he continue to take Miles the Monster is the question. Lopez Jr. on the outside, Mercurio, Worf, Norden, Butler, the three rows up at the front. Pace car is off, and this time Justice stacking the box a little bit later for the green flag.
And good start from Justice and Lopez. He's just going to have to rock.
Restart is now under review according to race control. See what the decision goes towards. As to the inside of Butler, that time goes Norden. Butler trying to wheel it on the second line. Norden clips a bit of the apron, though, and loses a bit of momentum in the Nexus Esports machine.
Lane change from the 121. That's Caden Rush in the back, so he's going to have to come in and make a stop. Everybody else was good as we've got people stacking up. Dalton Cowden almost wadded it up. He got the outside wall, and that got close.
Michael Frisch is back there, still keep in mind in 20th position. It's a hornet's nest right now of drivers to try and dodge for Frisch. He's currently right behind Walsh and passing by Poulin.
And just trying to methodically make it through here. He doesn't want to burn his stuff up too much, otherwise him pitting really doesn't give him any advantage. It's just kind of wasting a set of tires to fall back and then plow his way up through the front. He's got to be nice and easy on those Goodyears there.
Indeed, he has to be right now. He isn't being patient, though. He's trying to utilize what is currently about 20 lap pressure tires. You can see the difference coming into play compared to some of the front runners. Speed for the front runners, 24.3s. Michael Frisch, with the traffic, is running slower times, but it'll be interesting once he gets to clean space how things play out for him as Chris Wett's the next car up in front of him. You also have the super sub in the 27 machine. Jake Fisher also now being passed for 15th position.
How about Ryan Vargas, P9, gets in front of Rabideau, and Joe Bergey's, Rabideau's going to get turned, and they're going to wad him up again.
Caution flag is out.
Single car spin, I'll be darned. They avoided him.
And we'll see if there was help in this sequence. That was from the top 10 for Nathan Rabideau, as it is indeed the Hubba Bubba car that gets into the back end of him. You see there's the help right there. Matthew Zwack hits the inside wall trying to avoid as well.
Yeah, those guys were racing pretty hard back there, and it just took a little bit. Rabideau probably lifted to keep it off of Vargas. Bergey didn't lift to keep it off Rabideau, and that was it. Game on.
And this is where the strategy cards will now come out as a result of this caution flag just past halfway, because several drivers elect to stay out under this caution. Justice and company come in, but it's Bulos, Wetz, Frisch, Walsh, Painter who will stay out along with David Shieldhouse, Ethan Coulter, Gary Waterworth, Adam Sweet. This time by everyone else in for more service.
And Shieldhouse has not had a good run so far. I mean, he got involved in that first caution. He's just kind of been stuck out back all afternoon long. So, it's interesting to see the strategy he's pulling here to try and slide up into this thing and lead some laps and get a good day out of it.
Race off the pit lane, won by Derek Justice. Brian Mercurio comes off in second. Lopez Jr., Norton Worth. Race off the pit lane in the top 5. But they will restart 10th on back here, depending on how many drivers elect to come in this time. So we'll see how things play out here. More traffic this time. I'm very curious about how this will play out completely for Michael Frisch in particular, because he is the first of the drivers who pit the last caution. Your thoughts, Jacob?
For Boulos and for Walsh, I think I'm the most worried right now just because they are on the oldest tires out of everybody. Wets, his tires are old, but not as bad as Boulos and Walsh. Same with Frisch, Painter, Shieldhouse, Quarter, Waterworth, and Sweet. I think this is probably the best time for the guys that have stayed out to keep spots, considering the top 9 are on older tires. There's more traffic to hold up the faster guys like Justice and Mercurio. It's kind of a bailout for them, but I mean, we've also got 46, 47 laps left, so there's plenty of time here.
This is a track where the lap times can go quick once you get a green flag run, though. We'll see if it ends up becoming a sequence such as this. But we'll see how drivers choose coming up here. Boulos will be the first of the drivers coming up to the choose. As now here they go. To the bottom goes Boulos. Wets chooses the bottom. Frisch chooses the top. He's the first one on the high line.
I'm not surprised to see Frisch pick the outside just because, he is one of the faster cars. So I think he's thinking, get me some clean room on the high side without somebody on really worn tires in front of me, and I'll have a good shot to try and launch out in front of Boulos here, depending on how he tries to game the restart and put myself out in front.
So indeed, 9 drivers elect to stay out. Boulos, Frisch, Wets, Painter, Shieldhouse, Walsh, Quarter, Sweet, Waterworth. Then it's Derek Justice, who will start on the outside of row 5, the first one on Freshies. Then it's Mercurio, Lopez Jr., Norton, Worth, Butler, Gary, Vargas, Jameson, Zwack, Poulin, your top 20 at the moment. Coming up to the restart. This time, it's going to be intriguing how Derek Justice plays this now after what's been an impressive race for him.
Yeah, I'm curious here how this is going to play out. We really only have one way to find out, and that's when these guys send it off down here into turn 1. We'll see how early these guys decide to go when the pace car turns off here too.
Coming up to the restart. iRacing pace car is off. Early launch. Green flag is out. Back underway. Bulls with a good launch once more.
It was Painter that spun the tires there in the outside line, the 22 behind Frisch, and he's going to sink like an anchor right now. I mean, he is going to drop way back. Same with Shieldhouse. He's already got pressure. They're 3 wide. They're almost wrecking. They're 4 wide. That ain't going to work. Norton down on the flat. Got Adam Sweet up in the wall. I can't believe they didn't want it up.
How they didn't wreck, I'm not sure either. Derek Justice, meanwhile, wants to keep up with Mercurio. 3 wide with Shieldhouse and bumps into Shieldhouse. Those are technical alliance mates. Shieldhouse now up in the high groove. Gets shuffled out as well by Jordi Lopez and Sean Butler. What a move by Justice that time. Mercurio is the first driver on fresh tires, though, now as a result of that box-in.
I can't imagine that Shieldhouse is too happy, but I think he also understands where he was at. Justice is the fastest car on the racetrack right now, and Shieldhouse is on 14-lap older tires than everybody else. I think he can understand why he was booted out of the way there. He knows he's slower, and he knows that that's one of the guys to beat today. So I'm sure he can't be too upset about it, but I don't think anybody can be really happy when you get bodied out of the way.
Mercurio, meanwhile, by the way, is up to third position. Derek Justice is in fifth spot now after making the move that time by on Bulos.
But Michael Frisch, he's gone. I mean, he's got a 1.5-second lead over Mercurio right now, and he's running faster than Mercurio right now, and Frisch is on older tires.
That call may have worked out well for him so far. It's going to be interesting, though, once the other drivers approach. The difference on the tires is about 5 to 7 green flag laps, give or take.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if we're able to get a green flag run in here. I think it's going to hurt Frisch more than anybody else. If we get a caution, maybe with about 20, 30, or 25 to 30 to go, I think that's going to put Frisch right in the window where everybody can pit, make it to the end on tires. I would expect everybody to pit at that point. Yeah, we may see more cautions, but, you know, what's the point of staying out when you're probably going to wad them up again?
Chris Wetz, meanwhile, is doing a better job this run compared to the last one in keeping his track position. Remember, Wetz immediately got shuffled back, Jacob, and this run, he's keeping it evenly well inside the top 3 for now. But he is getting reeled in now by a couple tenths a lap.
Yeah, Wetz has been doing a good job up there, and he's on relatively older tires. I think some of the oldest tires at the field, or at the front of the field, other than Bulos and everything. So he's hanging in there, but Mercurio, Justice, they're all over each other, and they are a-coming.
Keep in mind, Mercurio in the 62, in the Speed Incorporated machine, is your team leader in terms of owner standings, I should rather say, with 5 wins for that 62 number in 13 races this season. It's been an impressive performance from that group, but Mercurio is under attack. It's Derek Justice wanting the net lead for the strategy.
He threw a huge block on Justice down the front straightaway. I mean, Justice came down, Mercurio came down even lower, and he said, "You are not passing me this time around." I mean, you don't think about blocking when you come to Dover, but man, oh man, he shut the door in a hurry.
And do you blame him? Because this is probably one of the most intense battles for what could be the front spot of this race so far. It's now 0.4 of a second quicker for these drivers compared to Frisch. The tires are starting to come into play now for these front cars. Another 2 car lengths gain, that time in 3 and 4.
Yeah, it looks like the wheels have fallen off the wagon here for Frisch. I think he's hoping for another caution here soon, you know, so we can kind of cycle out and be in the top 3 or whatever, because I would imagine that that these guys that are, you know, second on back, they've only pitted once. They've got another set waiting at least. So, you know, why not come in again and get those tires? But here comes Mercurio. Big run off of 4.
For the race lead. Gets a lot of space this time. Move Brian Mercurio to the point. And the 62, but Derek Justice keeping the pressure up in the 31 machine. And don't forget about Jordi Lopez Jr. He is also creeping forward along with Sean Butler into the fray.
Yeah, I still think it's down to Mercurio and Justice. If them and Frisch can get on the same strategy, then I think it could be a 3-car show. But at this point, Mercurio and Justice, they're just in a different zip code right now.
Yeah, Mercurio's been impressive. Derek Justice has led a majority of the laps, though, so far tonight. It's going to be the matter, though, of needing to pass on by Mercurio as Justice at this point. After all, it's easy to catch. It's harder to pass. And Justice currently having to deal with a bit of the dirty air as well with this fight.
And it's also going to be tougher to pass on the older tires because you'll have less grip to throw it down in there. You know, you won't be able to make it stick as much. You're going to be really slipping and sliding when you're trying to pass somebody and you're on the inside. So I think at this point, it may just be smarter for Justice to kind of hang on there, maybe pressure Mercurio into a mistake. But if you can't get there, don't worry, because you still got, you know, another quarter of this race left at least, you know, closing in on 41 to go, or 31 to go. I can do math. No, I'm right, 41 to go. It's been a long night, but nonetheless, I think Justice at this point, his best option is to just hang out right on Mercurio's back bumper. If he can make a mistake, great. If not, don't worry. There's a pretty good chance that we're going to have to pit again.
We are at 31 laps to go this time by to double check your math right there. But Justice trying to use those numbers and use the traffic coming up potentially, because there is a decent amount of it causing an issue in the damage machine. Led by the race leaders. Then it's Jeremy Clapper who will be up next for the traffic, followed by Nate Stewart. And traffic is always a major factor of the Monster Mile.
Yeah, they were able to get through Cosman pretty quickly, though. This next lap traffic that's going to be a little bit faster, that's going to be a different story. The longer this green flag run is, the faster the lap traffic is going to be compared to the leaders. So, and this is it.
It's going to be needing to be well timed for this pass. Justice can get this job done. Has kept pressure onto that back bumper. Trying to dive it a bit off the corner to get some grip. Not able to get side by side quite yet.
But don't look now. Here comes Jordi Lopez. These guys are all within 200ths of each other right now, lap time wise, across the start finish line. The gap's down to half a second between them and Lopez. It is very possible that he comes in here as a Dave Blaney and spoils the party for these two.
Great point. And keep in mind, with these two fighting cats and dogs up here, they potentially could burn up their stuff. And if that happens, Lopez Jr. can potentially take advantage, especially if they go side by side for a significant amount of time.
It's possible, but I think if they get side by side, it's going to be game over. Here comes Justice on the inside. Mercurio kind of pinched him down a little bit. Justice had to slide up, and Mercurio got the better launch on the high side. That is how you have to do it. You kind of have to pinch the guy on the inside down toward the inside so they don't get the right entry. And from there, you just hang it in on the outside line, and you're pretty much set.
That was nearly 100% disaster, by the way, in that sequence. They nearly got into one another off of turn 2. That's how close they got. That also lost them a couple tenths, and right into the fray within 2 tenths, Jordi Lopez Jr., one of the top drivers with Logic Gialtas Esports, now looking to wheel his way up there. That car is 4th in the owner's points entering tonight.
Yeah, there was a moment where I thought they were going to wreck and die. Coming off 2, I won't lie. I thought Justice was going to get into it, but they held their ground and they made it work. But now I think Justice is going to regroup a little bit, try not to completely abuse his stuff. Again, I think the smartest thing to do at this point is just ride around and wait for a caution. I mean, we've got 25 to go, coming to 24 to go this time. Jordi Lopez Jr. is there, but there's a difference of being there and getting by these guys. That's going to be the key.
By the way, a couple laps ago, you may have noticed Butler did get into the wall in the 32. He is in the midst of a battle with Ryan Vargas for 5th position. That car dealing with some right front damage. But for the front, Mercurio lets up a little bit, gives some space on the bottom this time. Justice trying to flatline it as they now get into range of Ryan Naraki and Jonathan Oates, the next cars in traffic.
Yeah, this ought to be good. But like I said, the more lap traffic we get to, the faster they are going to be, and it's going to be more of a headache for these guys that are fighting for the win.
It's going to especially be interesting once they get to 32nd on back potentially during this run, because that's where you have a whole pack of cars all together. That's currently about a quarter of the racetrack ahead. The thing is, they're running up to half a second to a second quicker a lap than them.
It may get there at the end. It's going to be a real close finish, I think. if they get to them at that point, it's going to be an all-out dogfight for the win, trying to get through the lap traffic.
21 laps to go in the Epic Gaming Network 100 at the Monster Mile. Give a shout out to Jordan Worf. He's quietly been running in 4th spot as well, and is now slowly reeling in the leaders as well as they scrap just under 2 seconds back of first.
Yeah, he's closing in. Vargas is faster than Butler. He's closing in on that, but they're about a 10th off at least of the leaders. But right now, the top 4 are pretty much all consistently together. Mercurio now slower than Justice. Lopez just slower, I mean, barely, a couple thousandths slower than Justice. So right now, it's down to Justice and Lopez as the fastest guys up at the front, but Mercurio in that clean air, it's king right now. He's able to hang in there.
They are near dead even on pace still at the moment. Justice really sends it in that time, though. Able to make it stick for the apex. Still can't get close enough to be able to make a move quite yet, as Lopez Jr. is starting to even out with these cars in front. Overall, what do you feel it's going to come down to for Justice to finally get side by side with Mercurial if he gets the chance?
A bump and run. That's what I think it's going to come down to. I think Justice is going to have to use the bumper, not wreck him, just move him up out of the way a little bit, get him sideways, and get by him. He's going to have to do it late enough, though, where, I think Justice got the wall there off of 2. He's going to have to do it late enough where Mercurio can't come back and reciprocate. That's got to be the key. If you're going to do it, you got to do it on the last lap, and you better get the heck out of town.
Can he get close enough now is the question. He lost a fair bit of time as they now come to 16 to go this upcoming time by at the stripe. Top 3 separated by about 7/10 of a second. Don't forget, there's that battle between Vargas and Butler, and what a job by Vargas. Starting in 27th position up to 6th, and now is being joined by Matt Danson, who's had a quiet race today.
Yeah, they're doing a nice job back there fighting for the win. They're up here fighting for the back there they're fighting for 5th. Up here they're fighting for the win. You know, Lopez at a point was faster than Justice there, and that's kind of evened off again. After Justice got the wall, it's kind of gotten back to normal, but these guys, the fall off just in the last 5 laps, they've fallen off 2/10 of a second. So these guys are struggling on these tires. They're praying for a caution. They've been out on these tires for 35 laps. 15 to go. They're kind of pressing their luck on getting a caution here and preventing this thing from turning into a mess.
14 to go, meanwhile, for Mercurio. He's kept that gap separated by a car length and a half. Matt Danson has also been able to pass on by into the top 5. Good job from the 05 machine tonight in terms of performance. Been an impressive second half of this race overall, I will say, and it's overall worked out very well for Mercurio. Remember, he took the lead with the traffic, able to make that pass after Justice got boxed in after the restart, as 9 different drivers stayed out under the caution flag. Majority of those drivers, they're all the way back, as far back as the teams. The furthest up who stayed out, still Michael Frisch, who fell back to 10th position.
Tell you what, though, this isn't over, because they're going to get to this lap traffic before the end of this race. This pack of lap traffic here that's in front of Guringe, you can see him down the back straight away. Leaders are going to get to that here before this thing's said and done, and it's going to change everything.
And they're all fighting for positions. Rich Jameson, Justin Malone, Lucas Plussel, Wyatt Tinsley, David Schildhaus, all are scrapping hard amongst each other at the tail end of the lead lap. Scaringe will be now a lap down from 32nd position. Justice gaining a bit of time in that sequence meanwhile, as here we go, that traffic now within 10 car lengths.
Mercurio is sweating bullets right now. And I'm sure he's going to be on the radio screaming, "Get out of my way," Martin Truex style, move it or lose it. We're trying to race for the win. But these guys are also racing for spots too. So, Mercurio's just going to have to be careful, and he can't beat himself trying to get through this traffic. Can't do it.
Tinsley giving the space now. The first of those drivers not getting the same treatment yet from Jack Painter. They now get boxed in. Painter slides up to the top. Malone drops to the bottom in front of the race leader. Here comes Lopez Jr. as he now passes by the traffic. Justice now trying to set up a move as Malone now moves out of the way. 9 laps to go.
Yeah, everybody not named Brian Mercurio made it through that lap traffic pretty easy. Justice made it through there pretty easy. Lopez made it through there pretty easy. Mercurio struggled a little bit, had to lift at one point to try and get by Malolo down the front straightaway, so he didn't run him over on corner exit. But they got through that a little better than I thought they would. That pack kind of split apart once the leaders got to it. I think at this point they might be able to just ride around here and see what happens. But Justice, the clock's ticking at this point. You're coming to 7 to go this time by. You got to get to Mercurio and make something happen.
Now David Schildhouse now letting drivers on by all the way up to the outside wall to let them go. Just 2 more lap cars within range for now. Jamison and Plussel for these closing stages. It's been an impressive second half of this race for Mercurio to be able to defend justice for this long. Now coming up to 6 laps to go. Can he hold on is the question. And don't forget about Lopez Jr. half a second behind.
Yeah, I mean, Lopez Jr. might be in the best spot just in case Mercurio and Justice make contact. But right now, I think Mercurio might be able to hang on. If Justice can get to Mercurio, though, I think we see the bumper used, and I think Derek Justice is going to win this race. But he has to get to him. If he can't get to him, it's not going to happen.
Bumping around to the Monster Mile. We've seen crazier things in FTF competition. We'll see if he can do so, or how things play out for the final 5 laps. 2 more lap cars to deal with. Lucas Plussel, Rich Jamison, 26, 27 positions on the racetrack. Plussel will slide out of the racing groove this time. Justice, though, will reach him on the corner exit. That's going to hold up the 31.
That was scary, but that's what Mercurio needed to see in his mirror. You know, he needed to see Justice get held up just a little bit. It's going to happen here again on exit. Ooh, look out, Lopez. They made it. I tell you what, I think Mercurio's got this thing in the bag. 4 to go. He needs to make a ton of mistakes. Early and often, he needs to make these mistakes. As here comes Rocky on the high side. He just pitted, and he's going to pass Justice, and that's going to open the door for Lopez.
That lost Justice a little bit more time as he now runs the outside of Brian Mercurio and passes by him half a second. Now the separation. 3 laps to go as Brian Mercurio looks to get the 6th victory for that 62 this season.
I think he's got it in the bag because Lopez right now is running faster than Justice. Mercurio's running a 10th faster than both of them. So, I mean, Mercurio at this point, he's just on easy street coming to 2 to go.
It'd be the 2nd victory for Mercurio this season in this series. Last win coming at Auto Club. Needs to hold on for just 2 more miles as the battle for 2nd now intensifies. Lopez Jr. wants to get a run.
Caution. Oh my God. I was going to say the only way we don't finish this is if by some miracle we get a caution, and it's Jacob Fisher and Jonathan Oates on the front straightaway.
Tower Gary also involved, and it was a battle for the top 10 coming to the white flag this time by, and now it's green-white checker territory, the first of 3 attempts, and this changes everything.
Gary just got loose on the high side and came down the racetrack just enough, and it punted Jacob Fisher head on into the inside wall. There you see it. And then the 27, the 73 Oates, he just locks it up trying to avoid. Oh my gosh. Well, take everything that we just talked about the last 20 laps and throw that out the window. Oh my.
You can keep the potential with the bump coming into play as we see one more time the hard hit. Unfortunate for Fisher. He was doing a great job the second half of the race. He had been in the teens much of the day, but now was able to get inside the top 10. Now, no more front clip. To the back of the field he goes. And open up the floodgates for the tires because everyone coming down to pit except for Fisher so far.
Yeah, I think if you don't pit here, you should be tested for intelligence, any intelligence whatsoever. Like, you've got to come in here. You've got to pit. You've got to get tires. I don't think 2 tires is going to work here either. You have to take 4. They're going to be important because I have a feeling we're going to use up all 3 of these overtimes.
And you know something, that caution flag came at the right time if you're the fan of Jack Painter, because hearing over the radio, he blew a tire coming to 2 laps to go as well.
Whew.
Well, Dover is very much prone, Jacob, to blown tires on iRacing.
This is iRacing, real life. In the ARCA race yesterday, Raja Caruth clobbered the outside wall in turn 2 because of a blown tire. This racetrack isn't quite like the cheese grater that Indianapolis is to Goodyear tires, but it's not very friendly, that much I can tell you.
Roberts reporting very high right front tire wears on their machines, by the way, for comparison's sake. But the race off the pit lane was Mercurio, Justice, Lopez Jr., Danson, and Worf now your top 5. Now, how do you do this? Now you get a couple chances if you're Justice to try this pass.
Mercurio is going to try and play every game in the book on this restart to screw Justice over somehow and try to run away with this. You know, Justice was playing games early in the race, so I think he'll be able to sniff it out here. I don't know. I think no matter what Mercurio does, I think Justice is going to have one more shot to try and get Mercurio out of the way and try and win this race, but it's going to be tough.
So what lane do you choose here coming up?
Bottom, no doubt about it. You choose the outside and the guy on the inside actually gets a good restart, you're toast. You pick the inside line, you've got the preferred line. If you pick the outside line, I don't know what you're on, but I hope it works out for you.
Drivers now coming around for the wave and coming around for the choose. And as expected, Mercurio chooses the bottom and Justice chooses the top. Lopez chose the bottom. Top chosen by Jordan Worf. Danson chose bottom among your top competitors. And don't forget about drivers who have had some quiet but strong days. We've talked about Vargas. We've talked about Butler. How about Will Norton and Michael Frisch? If anything happens amongst these top cars, they have a shot as well as we get the one to go.
Ryan Vargas, P6, he may just come out of here with a top 3 finish. It's certainly possible. You know, we've got 3 green, white checkers if we need them. You know, this is the first one. But there's always the potential that we wind up using more than one. And I think the likelihood is pretty high.
So to reset the rows, for the first green, white checkered, it's Mercurio and Justice, Lopez Jr. and Worf, Danson and Vargas, Butler and Norton, Frisch and Rabideau. Among your top 5 rows for the restart. If they get to the white flag, the race is official. The question is, who will take the checkered flag here at the Monster Mile?
Might be the pace car.
Don't jinx it. Mercurio, off and away he goes. Great restart, off and away we go. 2 laps to go from Dover.
Great restart from Lopez, though. He was on the gas and he was ready for it. That's what Mercurio wants to see, but Justice is able to clear him going in 1.
That restart got him about 3 car lengths ahead. Lopez Jr. keeping up the pressure as well. They're starting to go 2-3 wide right behind him. Again, if they take the white, race is official. Mercurio coming out of turn 4. We'll see the white. 1 more mile to go from Dover.
Wrecking on the front straightaway. Dalton Coden's around. He got hit by Poulin. We're still green. It's just a single car spin up at the top of the racetrack. We're able to keep this going.
The race leaders, though, will come through turns 3 and 4. The Epic Gaming Network 100 will go to Brian Mercurio. He wins for Speed Incorporated at Dover.
Certainly had the speed in the race car there, that restart. You know, Lopez trying to battle Justice there on that first lap. That really helped Mercurio just, you know, forget about the mirror for a second and just drive on out the windshield and pull away. And at that point, Justice just could not, he didn't have the time to get to the back bumper of the 62.
Just how hard was Mercurio pushing? He set the fastest lap of the race coming to the checker flag as well, Jacob. That's how hard he was pushing there at the end.
He was on the loud pedal. There's no doubt about it. He wanted to get the heck out of town because he didn't want to face Derek Justice for that win. Great job by Mercurio to get out and make it work here.
And celebrations now start for Mercurio, his 2nd victory in the series this season, and the 6th time this car number has gone to victory lane in the Grand National Series. It's been a dominant performance for the owners' standings for Speed Incorporated and the team standings. They'll grow those gaps after this one. Take a look at the race results. Brian Mercurio takes the checker flag by just under 0.3 of a second over Derek Justice. Lopez Jr. rounds out the top 3 with Jordan Ward from 14th to 4th to round out the top 4 with Matt Danson in 5th. Sean Butler, Will Norton, Michael Frisch, Ryan Vargas, Patrick Fogel round out your top 10 tonight, Jacob.
Matthew Zwack in 11th, and Andrew Schwartz with a nice 12th place finish. Joe Berge in 13th, Chris Wetz 14th, Ethan Quarter in the 15th spot. Tyler Gary finishes 16th, Brett Poncari in 17th, Gary Waterworth 18th, Nathan Rabideau 19th, Jake Poulin rounds out the top 20.
Recovering to 21st after hard contact, coming to the final 2 laps for Jacob Fisher, 21st, Adam Sweet, 22nd after being up in the front early on in this race. Goldridge, who was in the 30s much of the race, finished in 23rd. Braden Bulos, 24th. Lucas Plussel, 25th. David Schildhouse, Justin Malolo, Dalton Cowden, Rich Jamison, Jack Painter among your top 30.
So you got Jamison first car lap down, then Painter, Wyatt Tinsley 31st, Jonathan Oates 32nd, Nalraki 33rd, Clapper 34th, Walsh 35th, Nate Stewart finishes 36th, 15 laps down. In the 37th position, we got Caden Rush, 26 laps down. Cosman, 38th, 62 laps down. Had that damage from the first caution. Evan Rice, 39th, 64 down. Dylan Smith in 40th, 87 down. Alex Kolonix, 88 laps down. He had that big crash. Matt Horton, 42nd, 98 laps down. And Seth Noel, who was involved in that crash with Cosman, 43rd, 102 laps down. So he only ran 3 laps tonight.
Tough break for him, but a dominant second half after taking advantage of the traffic for Brian Mercurio in this one to take home the victory for Speed Incorporated. 6th time the 62 has gone to victory lane. Brian, how are you feeling? 40 laps led, dominant second half of the race for you.
I felt pretty good there. Once I qualified second to Derek, I knew it was going to be really tough. No, Derek, really good here at Dover. So, yeah, it was going to be tough. At least we really don't have to deal with dirty air as much like we have to do in the A car or the truck. But just kind of got lucky there at the end when everyone was on differing tire strategies. I know I got messed up by it earlier in the race. I fell back to about 5th after getting trapped behind a lap car or a slower car. But just was able to get ahead of Derek there on the fresher tires and stay ahead for the rest of the race.
Yeah, how was the pressure from behind? Because it seemed like Justice was all over your back bumper for several laps there. And don't forget, if you guys scrapped for too long, Jordy Lopez Jr. was right there too.
Yeah, I was a little worried there. I knew Jordy would probably try to pull something like that. You know, if he's just riding along in third there, there's no point in racing hard. So he was just going to try to sit and save his tires, see if he can sneak through past me or Derek there if either one of us messed up. Derek was putting a lot of pressure on. I knew I definitely burned my right front. He told me he burned his right front up pretty badly too. So I knew he was making a lot of time on me center off. So I had to kind of change how I was driving a little bit. And then especially the last 10 laps there before the caution came out for the green, white, checkered, running into a bunch of lap traffic there. So it's kind of hard to get into a rhythm, try to pull away. Might have got a little lucky with the lap traffic too. Kind of have your ebbs and flows. Some guys let you by easy. Sometimes you catch them in a bad spot. So I was just kind of able to keep the lead over Derek there. And once the caution came out, it was a pretty easy choice, taking 4 tires and driving away in the green, white, checkered.
Indeed, and it's been a successful year for you in that car, in that organization for Speed Incorporated. What's it been like from the atmosphere-wise, knowing your team is leading the owner's standings, as well as the organization's leading the team standings, and 6 victories now for that car?
It's good to know that I've been a part of 2 of these wins, earlier in the year at Auto Club and then here at Dover tonight. So always love to contribute, you know, whenever I get the chance to hop in the 62 here. My mindset just goes to points racing. And, you know, when the opportunity came up for a win tonight, you know, obviously a win's awesome. That's max points. But in the end, I'm really just trying to points race this car. And fortunately, being able to share this car as a cup driver, we're limited to starts here in the GNS series. So having a little bit of the ability to kind of pick and choose races that I want to run, especially races that either Kyle or Blake or whoever wants to run the 62 wants to. I know Blake likes the road courses, so he's been running a ton of those. He's gotten a bunch of wins. He ran the short tracks early in the season, and for a race like tonight, he just straight up wasn't interested. So I decided to hop in the car for tonight, and love to see a great points day.
Anyone you want to thank for the run tonight?
FTF put on the race. Felt a little weird. 100 laps. I don't know. I heard some people calling it a sprint race. Feels a little short, even if it is a GNS race. But either way, thank them for putting them on the race. You guys over at STN for broadcasting this race. Always cool. Always like to watch back through broadcasted races that I'm a part of afterwards. So that's always cool. Bar Visuals, Dalen Bar, of course, for sponsoring FTF the FTF's GNS series. All the stuff he's done for FTF, that's awesome. Love to be able to represent him on my car. Lowline Racing, DM Software Development, and that's about it.
Congratulations once more on the victory tonight.
Thanks, Justin.
Brian Mercurio coming away with the victory, 40 laps led out of 105 completed. Derek Justice led 41 laps, was the pole sitter, but finished in second tonight. He's now going to be standing by with Jacob Hitz after what was an impressive race for Justice as well.
Well, Derek, come home in second spot. You dominated the first part of the race where we had a lot of cautions. Then that second half of the race, we didn't have as many cautions. Had a great green flag run almost to the end. You were sitting in the second spot trying to set up Mercurio to get by him. Take us through your mindset there through those last 20, 30 laps.
Yeah, it's just really hard to set up a run with this car. Like I said, the dirty air is not as big as the cup or the truck, but it's still there, and it's really hard to navigate to try to set up a run on somebody. I had a couple chances to get underneath him and through the block, but hey, it's part of racing. You gotta do whatever you can. It was a lot of fun. He just negotiated through traffic better than I did when we had about half a dozen cars. I stayed. He just got through it better than I did, and that's what sealed the deal for him to get in the win. So good job on him.
And how about before we send you on your way here to enjoy the second place spot, anybody you want to thank, say hi to?
Yeah, just appreciate all the broadcast guys putting on these great shows. FTF, I know Justin puts his heart and soul in this league and try to make it the best he can. All the racers out there, and of course, all my Twitch viewers, Twitch chat, JTG Racing, NFR, all the support, all the guys that I worked hard with in the cook side. And it was a fun race today.
Well, congratulations and best of luck to you next week at, I believe we're going to Dakota. Turn left and right. Best of luck to you.
All right, thanks.
Once again, that's Derek Justice coming away with second spot. Like to thank him and Brian McCurry for taking the time to speak with us for post-race coverage. Now, Jacob, your final thoughts after this one. An eventful race, to say the very least, but in the end, it's a long run into a green-white checkered finish that helps determine the finish.
Yeah, we had that long run there at the end, and I kind of expected that last caution not to be something like what happened, where it was somebody getting loose on the outside, bouncing down to somebody else. I expected it to be somebody being too aggressive, getting into a corner and getting somebody sideways, even if it was the battle for the lead, or I expected a right front tire to be blown and somebody to slam into the outside wall at 170 mile an hour to bring out the caution. I wasn't really playing it on kind of a normal Dover wreck to bring out the caution, something that we had seen in the first half of the race 3 or 4 times. But it happened, and it kind of opened the floodgates for everybody to pit, get fresh tires, and then it was just a 2-lap dash for these guys to put on the best show that they could, and to see what happens. And Mercurio, I thought Justice had the best short run car. I don't know if Mercurio made any adjustments there in the second half, but man, those 2 laps must have been the best 2 laps he's ever driven here at this racetrack, because he was gone.
Absolutely an impressive run for Mercury on the closing stages to take home the checker flag here at the Monster Mile. Plenty of action coming up on FTF, rather in STN racing action, starting off with the FCRL taking place at 6. That coverage starts at approximately 8:20 p.m. Eastern Time. Then on Thursday, it's off to Charlotte for second split action for RTP Racing in the NASCAR trucks. Be sure to tune in at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Then FTF1 is back in Montreal. That's for round 6 and 7 of the campaign in the Dallara IR 01. That coverage will start at 9 p.m. Eastern Time on Friday, May 21st. Then it's back here for the Grand National Series on the 22nd at the Circuit of the Americas for race number 15 of the campaign. Be sure to tune in for that. That will take place at 10 p.m. Eastern Time once more on Saturday. But it's time to say goodbye. For my director, Zach Johnson, for Jacob Hitz, my co-announcer, I'm Justin Prince saying so long. Enjoy the rest of your evening. You've been watching STN Racing for live coverage of the FTF Grand National Series presented by Bar Visuals. Congratulations to Brian Mercurio, your winner at Dover.